Public comments, everybody have their forms up here? Good afternoon again, everybody. Thanks again, everybody, for being here this afternoon. We'll call to order the Nashville MTA WeGo board to order. And first on the agenda are the approval of the October 24th. So moved. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those motion's carried. And public comments. Mr. Green. Patrick Green.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Good afternoon.
Are you timing? Okay. I'm sorry.
Patrick Green, ATU. We represent all the bus operators and maintenance personnel here at WeGo Public Transit. Steve, you told me I would like Bill. Yeah, you were right. But it is my intent to make him.
You're not doing your job.
It's my intent to make him leave with less hair than he came with. So I just wanted to take a minute to talk about the amended bus purchase program. I think that is, from our perspective, an excellent idea. For someone like myself, on the international level, I work with the Labor Network for Sustainability, so we're all about doing things that are environmentally sound. But I also am, too, for our international body, a voice of reason. And so we can never forget, or at least most of us who are in the social justice movement, that there must always be a just transition. And when that just transition doesn't take place, then you end up with technology that you purchased that no one below the Mason-Dixon line is qualified to work on. And so what do we do about that? How do we address that? That's when we start to look at just transition. So as you go into the future, I encourage you that when you start to look at new technologies, go beyond just the benefit of the new technology and ask the question, how do we maintain it? What does the future look like for the workforce? If you intend to have a workforce, have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen.
Mr. Thomas. Happy holidays to you too, Mr. Green.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thomas.
Just got one little thing I just want to talk about. This past week I was at home. My fiance called me up, said something about a bus stop on Haywood Lane, that asked me when the bus comes. I'm like, there's no bus that comes on Haywood Lane. This is an X-bus. And she swore up and down that there was a bus stop there, that there's a bus come by. I was thinking that I wanted to go over there, and there's a blue bus stop sign there. But I come and look at the map, and there's nothing but an X line over there. And it can get confusing for people like her that don't know their system. If there's possibility that the X lines can possibly put up a sign that says X stop instead of a regular bus stop, that may help clear up some of the confusion. That's one thing I got to say.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
And just keep my dad in your prayers, and keep my fiance in your prayers too.
Amen.
Mr. Graham.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
First off, please allow me to commend you all for a couple of things. Your opening of new channels for input from us bus riders is quite appreciated. The recent Transit Out Loud, for example, which indeed I attended and spoke my mind about good things as well as concerns. Earlier this year, you set up an advisory committee of riders. In doing so, you were following the good example of San Antonio's transit via MTA, where a board member actually invited me to join their citizen advisory council, and it was a welcome and productive service and experience. I also praise you, and I mean this seriously, it's not a backhanded compliment or irony, that I have found myself walking more. This increased notably upon the downsizing at the end of September. For one, I no longer have Route 20 as an alternative to Route 4, nor Route 30. The sole alternative to Route 4 is Route 56. Therefore, if I miss a departing Route 4 due to the habitual lateness in arrival of buses from southwestern Nashville and do not wish to wait 40 minutes for the next Route 4, I board the next 56 and then walk home from Main Street. Furthermore, I've had some instances of walking from 6th and Shelby all the way to the downtown bus depot, again, due to Route 4 schedule on weekends, coupled with drivers being either late or astonishingly early. But the walk is actually enjoyable. Again, I'm seriously giving praise for this situation. As to items of concern, one, is it just my perception, or has the number of buses increased that have most seats facing inward rather than forward? I brought this up before. Such seating is just not cost productive. Two, some of the drivers will take their time in breaks between runs and saunter back to the waiting bus and waiting boarders after the scheduled departure time. Third, whenever I happen to be in the depot late in the evening, I always find doors to the entry lobbies on both levels already locked an hour or two before the final time for departures. This blocks us riders from some of the schedule screens and most of the drinking fountains. And again, thank you for the praiseworthy items I mentioned, and I encourage you to deal with the concerns I list. Have a good day.
Thank you. You have a good one as well. Mr. Bull.
Good afternoon. As you all know, I'm a frequent rider, and I have a couple things. One, access on demand. I'm glad that the numbers are looking really good. It always sticks on me that there's a surcharge, and I can't help note quite irreverently that the state of Tennessee is pushing metro government and cash management issues with that TANF surplus of several hundred million. Perhaps some of that could be, y'all are great at writing grants, be steered towards access on demand ridership. The other thing, on time. I notice also that the buses are on time or ticking up a little bit. Overall, the system, in light of the problems maintaining the hybrid electric buses, that's quite remarkable. It says something about the maintenance staff and the drivers. And I'm glad that resolution, our number MA 19030 to amend the bus contract is gathering attention. That's pretty much it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bull.
Oh, and there's one other thing. This inward-facing seats, I feel, are a real asset if someone's got a wheelchair, a baby carriage, or a shopping cart, or a combination or two, especially being at the front of the bus, so they don't have to navigate moving all that to the back, although the babies are awfully cute. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Knight. Mr. Bowles. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I want to address the maintenance issue. I saw that yesterday online about amending the contract. I was also in contact with the mayor's office this past week because I talked to a number of you all's excellent drivers. You do have quite a few of them who really honestly strive to do everything that you all ask them to do as far as riding the buses up. I reached out to staff this week so that they could hear how loud one of the hybrid buses are, the NABI Bus 181. was extremely loud. Got off the 6 and Donaldson Lebanon Road, I'm sorry. And all you could smell was the exhaust. And I mean, it was covering smoke, blue and black smoke from this bus. So I felt like, okay, how could you put this bus out into service? And it also smelled like it was burning. So I had to reach out to staff so that they could hear it, so that they could get someone to remove the bus out of service due to safety. I know that you all have a lot of stuff going on in maintenance. Rick made that very clear before he ever left. I had multiple conversations with him about his staff at that time, about what was going on. I'm not pleased. The drivers are not pleased. It's not safe. And I would say to you all, if you think that the staff coming to you telling you, oh, this is fine, this is working, well, look at the information you all were presented with today about the hybrid buses, in which I brought to you all last year. I told you all last year that there was a problem with those hybrid buses. I was told by staff, oh, no, it's not an issue. Well, why is this in the report? Why are we now switching back to diesel buses, which we originally started buying? Okay, it's not making sense. So the perception is originally when the city decided that they wanted to do something about transit, they were hoping to move to electric buses. So how are you all going to explain to the city and to all of the other Nashvillians that you're now going back to diesel buses? I perfectly understand the cost savings that you all want to do, and actually reaping that benefit makes a lot of sense because you can buy more buses actually doing that. But the problem is what are you going to do about the 50 buses that you just bought between last year and this year that are going to remain in service for well over, 12, 15 years from now? And then you're having this technical issue where it's shorting out things on the bus. So I would honestly like an explanation for that personally, because I feel like that was wasted dollars that we didn't need to waste. So honestly, also in closing, I feel that staff has reached out. The former COO, Ms. Birdsong, stated that you all reached out to Gillig about the repeated issues multiple times between last year and this year. I would like to know, what is Gillig actually going to do about the products that they presented to you all multiple times with issues in which they told you all they were going to correct? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in today, Mr. Knight. Ms. Hanson.
Good afternoon. I'm
Good
glad I was
afternoon.
able to get here today. What I would like to speak on is the way that some drivers address and communicate with people with vision loss and hearing loss. If I get on a bus, I'm legally blind. I've got the white cane right there in plain view. And if a bus driver is getting off a bus, and they're not ready for us to board because they got to go take a quick break, I'm fine with that. But don't do like this to somebody with a cane. Conversely, don't tell us we're ready. I mean, I'm saying this to the drivers. Don't say that they're ready for us to get on by doing like this. Because people with low vision and no vision, I see the hand is up. I can't see what the hand is doing. So speak to me, please, drivers. And another thing is, I have had to ask the drivers to repeat themselves, whether they say ready or hold on, because they say it's so low. I can hear everything because my ears are sensitive. So I hear everything. So I ask them to repeat themselves, and I've had bus drivers they repeat themselves with an annoyed tone of voice that they had to repeat. And that goes for them speaking to people with low hearing. There's a reason a person asks them to repeat. Don't be annoyed by it. That doesn't make sense. Another thing is, and I'll give you an example. Earlier this week, I ride the Gallatin Road bus in. I got on, and there was this guy sitting in the first seats that face towards inwards. I sit there so I could see out front, to see my landmarks, to know when to ring the bell. And I usually don't ask people to move, but if one person is taking up 3 seats, I'm going to ask them, could you please share the seat?
You have 1 minute left, Ms.
Okay, so this guy he was sprawled out like it was his couch, picks up his backpack and moves. I only needed one seat. I didn't need all three. But then he starts bad-mouthing me and trying to bully me, and the driver did nothing. So I just tuned him out, put my headphones on, and put my phone up to my face and watched an episode of The Good Doctor to tune him out. So, but these drivers need to make people move their stuff off the seats, because people need to sit there, because people who ask people to move seats, then these people get all belligerent like that guy did. I mean, there was a report on TV last night about an autistic young man who some guy bullied him for some reason and stepped on his glasses. So, drivers need to speak up. They used to make people turn down their radios and make people move their stuff. Now they act like they don't hear what's going on, and I know they do. So, I believe that's it. The last thing is something totally different. I'll just call in a complaint.
Well, thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you. I'm glad I made it. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too. Mr. O'Connor.
Well, good evening, everybody. Ooh, I think maybe I'll back up a little bit here. Can you hear me now?
We're good.
Okay, some of the usual things that I've mentioned previously. Again, people out there who need buses beyond the times at which they quit. So bus hours do need to be extended. And as usual, as I say, also customer service hours need to match those bus hours. Also, still, I'm seeing some buses where the header signs and the signs on the sides and in the back are not working. They have a sign in the window, but if you're looking for the header sign, you're not looking for the window sign. Also, again, I still stress that the 52A still needs to have its end of the line moved to behind the Walgreens, so that people know where the end of the line is and don't have to pay again just to get to the next stop. Okay. Also, and can we get chairs out in the hallway so that people that come and wait for the committee meeting to get over have bad back or bad legs and so on can have a place to sit? I don't know, it would be much appreciated. And also, supervisors and security in the mornings, a lot of times, are not existent. And a friend of mine went to complain about something, and when finally found a supervisor, passes it on to security passes it on to the supervisors, and they pass the buck, and nobody seems to get any kind of resolvement out of it. So I was asked to mention that. So, okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Those are all the public comments slips I have. Does anybody else have a public comment? Does anyone else have a public comment they wish to share? Hearing no more public comments, we will close the public comments portion of our agenda today. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Searcy because you have several items to share with us today.
We do. The first of which is the request from our CFO to approve.
Accept.
To accept, thank you. The comprehensive annual financial report that's submitted by our auditors from Crosman. That is the recommendation of the committee. Madam Chairperson.
There's been a recommendation of the committee, not required a second. Is there any further discussion? I would just add that a copy of the audit be attached to the minutes from this meeting today as well. And thank you to Crosland for their good work. And would just add, Ed, again, you and your staff continue to do wonderful things. And thank you for being so cooperative with Crosland and Associates to make certain this happen. Just right. So thank you all very much. With that being said, any other comments? No comments, all those in favor? Motion carries. There you go. Number one.
The next item is the proposed Easy Ride pilot program, also presented by Mr. Oliphant. And if you look at page 20, you will see the recommendation.
That's page 20 of the committee report, correct?
Yes.
It's page 20 of the committee report.
Page 8 of the board.
I'm sorry.
Where's your board book?
Here it is.
Page 9. I have to take care of you.
You're gonna take my
That's right, we have committees.
page 9 in the board book. All right.
So this will allow,
Our recommendation is to
Provide management the flexibility to work within the business community to develop and enter into pilot agreements for the Easy Ride program.
I think that's correct.
so
That is our recommendation.
That is the recommendation of the committee. No, that's a move on. I know you and Hannah need this to move. But since they're done, but do you have any comments?
I do not.
There are no comments, and with there being no comments and a recommendation of the committee, all those in favor say aye. Pilot programs, here we come.
I would like to do this next one.
Please. I thought you did that one.
Oh, it's because you understand.
Because I understand that the hotter the engine, the less particulate matter goes into the universe.
Go right
So we have
ahead.
a resolution to amend the Gilly purchase contract, which I think Darius is going to be very excited about. The Operations and Finance Committee recommends to the board to amend the existing purchase contract and save us a boatload of money. So we're going to take the total sum of this purchase, which is to be reduced from almost $0.8 million to almost $2 million. That's a bunch of money. And in order to do this, when we do this, we're going to buy low floor, we're not, wait a minute. Now I'm confused. We're amending the contract to buy the hybrid diesel electric buses. And instead of the clean diesel buses, right? No, we're buying the clean diesel buses instead of the hybrid electric buses. I don't understand the science behind it, not the wording. And that the total sum of this purchase would be reduced from $14,782,000 to $10,165,000. Funding for this purchase will still be comprised of 2018 federal 5339B discretionary award funding. So that's it.
And that is the recommendation of the committee, is that
That
correct?
is the recommendation.
And I will just make one comment that I think that Bill shared with us his first time at the table, too, about the increased technology even of diesels from many years ago when we first bought diesels to diesels now. And also that this, in terms of reducing our costs, as well as the fact that the repair and the maintenance is less on this as well. So it's like a three-part kind of consideration
And I would
as we
just
go into
add
this decision.
editorially that anytime technology changes, you think one thing's going to happen and sometimes something else happens. And it just keeps changing. So while it looks like a stupid decision in retrospect, it was probably the best decision that could have been made.
At the time, yeah,
And
absolutely.
now things move forward and things change and we have to
In
adapt.
the immortal words of Bob Dylan, times are changing.
The times are changing.
Well, that being said, any other further comments? I mean, I think that this is very comprehensive and well done, and again, if this can go into our board, it will be helpful to make certain the explanations are very clear.
All right.
And anything further? So with that said, all those in favor of the recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Did you notice how the first, I'm sorry,
No, I was just saying the
did you
motion.
know how the first request that Bill had was to reduce a purchase amount, right? Bill, you can come back anytime.
Don't get used to it. Operations people spend.
So far, so good.
I'm just kidding, I didn't mean to get it done.
All right, the next item we have appears on page 13 of the board book. The Operations and Finance Committee recommends to the board to provide the CEO the authority to execute a one-year contract extension through December 31, 2020 with Gresham Smith and Partners and increase the not-to-exceed value of the entire contract from $3 million to $3.5 million. Additionally, the committee recommends to the board to provide the CEO the authority to amend the task order under this contract for the continued support of the Murfreesboro Pike TSP project to reflect an increase in not-to-exceed value from $500,000 to $643,000. The funds are available in the previously identified funding source as identified by the Nashville MTA capital plan to cover the additional costs associated with this contract. That is the recommendation of the Operations and Finance Committee.
Awesome. Not requiring a second. Is there any comment? There being no comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, Hannah, go ahead and take it.
So we got another board action from regarding the sole source agreement with Trapeze, which has been in the House for a while, in order to maintain the level of maintenance support under Information Technology Operations. The Operations and Finance Committee recommends the board to approve a sole source support / warranty and maintenance agreement for $769,544 with an additional not to exceed amount of $2 million for future enhancements, for a total of $2,769,544.
That's your recommendation. Is there any further comments? Being no comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have Trapeze.
Trapeze is funded. Socks.
And how do we handle, is this our committee?
No, that's not. I think, Steve, you're going to take the Rita's piece.
Rita's thing, yep, I can do that.
So is there anything further from your committee? Your
No,
Operations and
that
Finance?
concludes our business for this month.
Well done.
Well done. Lots of good things and well done. So thank you very much. I will say also just to your committee that Greta did a good job discussing with us and updating us. And maybe I wasn't going to say it in the chair's report, but anyhow, I'll say it now.
As she always
on the
does.
DBEs and ways that we can help, the ways that we can continue to encourage her initiatives. We do not have a report from New Initiatives and Community Engagement Committee. So, Steve, I will ask you to serve on Rita's behalf.
Sure, and that's a tough seat to fill, but I will do my best. Page 16 and 17 is the proposed 2020 MTA board meeting schedule. We've followed the historic protocol of generally being the fourth Thursday of the month, with the committees commencing at 1:30. The board meeting scheduled for right after at 2:30. The only exceptions are, as usual, in November to accommodate the Thanksgiving holiday, and in December to accommodate the Christmas holiday. We move 1 week earlier. So those specific dates are on page 17 in the board book.
So I just think we need a motion for acceptance of the calendar.
Motion.
We have a motion. There's a second. Any conversation, comments? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. We have a meeting schedule for 2020. Seems hard to believe. I really don't have much for a chair's report other than today was a super busy day, but I think that it was really an important day. I think that, Bill, it's good to have you aboard, and I appreciate the in-depth work that you're doing in just a short time. So welcome. You're welcome to the table anytime. And did appreciate. And the table was full of a lot of different staff members today. And just so the record's clear, the table is the table that comes to present for the board. So the record's clear in case somebody's reading what we mean by the table. But so thank you all for all of the work that you're doing. Certainly the work continues. Is why at this time of the year I want to make certain I share my gratitude and my grateful spirit towards all of our drivers, all of our maintenance, and all of our staff who's out here every day working hard to make certain the citizens of Nashville get to and from where they have to be, where they want to be, and that they're all doing it as safely in Nashville. So I appreciate all the work and wish all of you a very, very happy Thanksgiving season. And with that, Steve, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Good afternoon. The Operations and Finance Committee, Felix reported on our quarterly route-by-route ridership. Next quarter's ridership, which will be the October through December period, you'll see quite a bit of adjustment, as that will have the full impact of the service restructuring, route eliminations, route consolidations. So we'll be able to get a better look at what impact the service changes have had on issues like ridership. We're continuing to make adjustments, and we'll be continuing to make adjustments certainly into the spring service changes as new ridership patterns develop. Mr. Graham alluded to folks walking to different services, and we're finding that to be happening quite a bit. So we're running into some overcrowding on several of the routes. And also, when you have more ridership on a route, that tends to impact schedule adherence. So I know in talking to our service development folks, they're watching things closely. We're making some in-service adjustments, deploying additional buses, but we'll also be looking at making permanent adjustments with the spring service changes. On a very positive note, last month I got to report on the winners of our local bus and maintenance rodeos. Our winners got to compete in Chattanooga this past month against the best from all over the state. And again, as usual, it's going to be too much of a habit. We took home a lot of hardware. We won the Big Wheel Award. We won one Big Wheel Award. We won 2 Big Wrench Awards. And I've seen them. They are really big wrenches. Michael Featherston placed first in the 40-foot bus competition as an operator. And continuing the theme of, at least, Bill, you'll have some good material to work with in maintenance. We won 2 of the Big Wrench Awards. Well, first of all, Kevin Sentis placed second in the 35-foot bus competition, but Troy Willis placed first in the bus maintenance competition. Pedro Ochoa placed second in the bus maintenance competition, and Christopher Brown placed first in the van maintenance competition. So a lot of good material to work with. Many of you, I'm sure, have read and seen Mayor Cooper has hired Faye DeMassimo as his senior advisor for transportation infrastructure. She has a lot of experience, most notably in the Atlanta region. Faye reached out early. We've had a number of meetings on different issues associated with mobility and transit, and I think she's going to be a super addition to the Nashville community, and I know several of our members have reached out to her already to have conversations. Currently out for bid on the Nolensville Shelter project. As you'll recall, about 18 stops in the Nolensville corridor to be upgraded with pedestrian infrastructure and shelters. Trey led the pre-bid meetings for that, and we're encouraged that we've had some good participation by the contractor community. So we're optimistic that we'll get good competition and a good result. Those bids will open in December. January. They open in December. They open in December, and we expect to be back to you in January.
Are they design build contracts, or is this something?
No, they are. It was design bid build. Yep. Trey touched on in the Gresham Smith contract, the Murfreesboro Pike Transit Signal Priority Project. 99% of the work completed. The last 1% is the nagging stuff. It's mostly utility closeouts with NES, which have posed their own challenges, and then software issues with our traffic signal software. They conducted the most recent test this week. Unfortunately, a number of elements still failed, so they have to go back. We've issued them a notice of cure, so we're working with Public Works and with that software vendor to make those corrections. I attended Metro Council Budget and Finance Committee at a special joint meeting with the full council where the state comptroller briefed the council on Metro's financial condition. That's been widely reported. It was certainly not positive news, and I think everybody in the Metro world is looking to another year of austerity budgeting. You know, I would point out after last year, there's not a whole lot to cut here. And again, with overcrowding issues, we're not in a position to cut back service on those routes. So, you know, we'll be communicating the message that we certainly appreciate the position Metro's in, and we'll obviously work to coordinate on savings and what have you, but there's just not a lot more that we're going to be able to do in that regard without having significant impacts on people's lives. So that's part of the message that I've been carrying. With respect to our fare collection project, we're actually kicking off internal testing of some of the components of Smart Card and the mobile payment components in the upcoming month. And when I say internal testing, that means some employees will have that capability so we can do early round testing. And then early next year, we'll start beta testing with a select users group who use a variety of products on a variety of different services so that we can get, really good, hard feedback on how that system works. Nice event, Miriam Leibowitz, Carolyn Riggs-Farrar. Every year we work with the Oasis Center on their Youth Action Team project, so it's high school students from a variety of schools around the region working on transit-related projects. So Miriam, Carolyn, and I got to meet with the group, got briefings on what they were doing. They got to quiz us on what we were doing, and in many cases lectured on what we should be doing, which was, really, really positive experience. So my credit to Miriam working with that group and with the Oasis Center for continuing that partnership. We've been working actively. Actually, Miriam also has been leading our efforts with Office of Emergency Management, Homeless Impact Division, and Metro Social Services on Metro's response to, particularly in the cold weather, homeless issues. As in past years, we're continuing our adverse weather card for folks in the homeless community to be able to get to shelter. And then we've also done some special moves when they've needed to activate the emergency or the overflow shelters when that occurs. Okay, she is still here. So I gave a real shout out last month to Denise Nicolosi and our Stops and Shelters crew because they literally had hundreds and hundreds of changes in moving shelters, taking shelters down, moving stops, putting up new stop signs, and they pretty much completed that work. So Denise said, gee, I'm sorry I left early and missed my shout out, so I really feel compelled. Denise, stand up and be further embarrassed. Denise and the shelter and sign crew did, which was really quite a lot and quite fast. And then finally, as always, I'll update you on a few of the RTA items. We shipped off our second locomotive on the WeGo Star off for rebuilding, so it is somewhere in the CSX universe, moving between here and East St. Louis, Illinois, to start the rebuild process. As I think I mentioned last month, the RTA board finalized the purchase of 8 new used passenger coaches for the Star. Rita and Bill have been working on executing that sales agreement, and now the railroad in Michigan is doing some of the make-ready work for us to be able to go up, accept those coaches, and have them shipped to Nashville. Also in the vein of construction, we're also out to bid for the expansion of the Mount Juliet Park and Ride lot. We'll be adding about 100 spaces to the 160-space lot. Frankly, it can't come any time too soon. We've had overflow cars. They've been parking in adjacent businesses, and finally the businesses have filled up, so they've started tagging cars. So, we're definitely in the mode of we need to get that project underway. And then the last thing I'll report, which I think will end up being a real positive, I like to be optimistic about it, the city of Murfreesboro approached us. They are working on developing an operating facility for their local transit system, the Rover, and we have at every RTA board meeting, I kind of make noise about our lack of good purpose-built park and ride. And essentially the city reached out and said, hey, the site we're looking at could be a good combined site. So we're going to look to partner with the city of Murfreesboro on their bus facility project to also include a park and ride project that has great access to I-24 and good in and out access. So we're optimistic on that particular project. And other than that, Madam Chair, unless there are any questions, other than to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving and a safe holiday with your families, that concludes my report.
Anybody have anything? Questions? Any other business? If there is no other business, happy Thanksgiving, and we're adjourned.